But then Jesus says to her, well, did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So they took away the stone. And then Jesus looked up and he said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. Notice how he's just saying, thank you, God. You know what one thing he doesn't ask for in here? For God to raise him from the dead. Why? Because he's God. He has the authority. He said that earlier to Martha, I am the resurrection. I am the life. Whoever believes in me, though they may die earthly, they will be raised again and live with me forever. In other words, I have power over death. So he says, and two, he says, first off, the Father, I thank you, you've heard me. And then, it's kind of like repeating something to someone you just said, and they're kind of looking at you like, well, yeah, I know, we talk about this all the time. I'm just saying this so they can hear it kind of thing, right? It's that kind of thing for their benefit, because I know you hear me. And then when he said this, he calls out in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. And then the dead man came out, his hands and his feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Now, there's a lot of Bible commentators who say, the reason he says Lazarus come out is because he has the power over death, and he is standing in a graveyard. If he's a little vague and says, come on out, it's going to turn into Michael Jackson's Thriller, that kind of, maybe they'd all start dancing, I don't know. But it'd be like Night of the Living Dead. And so the reason he is specific is to say, Lazarus, just Lazarus, you guys, come on out. Is that true? I don't know. But it's kind of a neat look. I mean, I'm sure he could. So he calls specifically for Lazarus. Now, again, he's been dead 4 days. And just try to, we read about this and we've heard of this story, so it's kind of like, yeah, and we read it and hear, okay, cool. But imagine if you were actually there and you were part of this group, and for 4 days you're with this, if you know he's died, he's in the tomb, you're mourning day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And then all of a sudden Jesus comes in, Mary runs in, you follow after her. He says he wants the tomb rolled away. You're like, oh, okay, man, he must really kind of be losing his marbles, and he just needs to see him one more time. Let's all step back, we don't want to smell this. And he says a prayer, and he says, simply, Lazarus, come out. He did not do any incantations. And so they be confused that he's saying magic words. It was just a command to come out. Imagine being there and hearing that, and then literally seeing this dude who was buried, still in his burial clothes, probably looked like a scene from, The Mummy or something. Comes hopping out. And you would think, right, everybody there must have been, oh my goodness, this is the Son of God. This is the Messiah. Right? I mean, some of us just think, God, why don't you move? God, why don't you do something? Because then everyone would believe. I don't think they would. I mean, here he is, and he does this miracle. I mean, you were there. You know the dude was dead. You've been mourning. You've seen this. And he raises him from the dead. And he gets out, and he comes out, and he says to them, take off his grave clothes and let him go. So what's the response? Well, it says, therefore, many of the Jews who came to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did believed in him. So thank goodness the majority did. Many did. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Uh-oh. He's raising people from the dead. Uh-oh. And these chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. So you get the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the chief priests You think, I don't know what any of that means. Well, basically, it would be like Jesus came here, and he's doing some stuff, and it brings together the Republicans and the Democrats and the moderates over one unifying thing of we have to kill him. Which is a reminder, if you are convinced that Jesus would vote like you'd vote, I can tell you, you might want to pause on that. He didn't come to do any of that stuff, and he ticked off both sides. The Pharisees were the far-right, legalistic ones. The Sadducees are more of the liberal ones. Their view of death was you die and you die. That's it. They always were at each other. They're always arguing back and forth. But they're brought together over this issue. So they pull them all together. And what are we accomplishing, they asked. Here is this man performing many signs. He's raising people from the dead. He's telling you who he is. Oh, but they didn't want that because that was going to mess with their world. He says, if we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. Still to this day, some of us have a tough time following Jesus because we think something different. We think, no, this is how it should be. It's real easy to follow Jesus up to the point that it starts to cost you something. Until you start to tell, wait, I need to change. I need to let something go in my life. Nah, I'm good. Here, these are the people that are supposed to care the most. I mean, they're saying, we're going to lose our temple. We're going to lose this, that we use the temple to worship God. We are the people chosen by God. We're going to lose all this stuff. And God is literally there performing miracles through his son. And they're more worried about what they're going to lose than what could be gained by listening and following him. So one of them, Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, spoke up, "You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than the whole nation perish." He did not say this on his own, but as high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation. So he's saying a prophecy, and he doesn't even realize what he prophesied. And not only for that nation, but also for the scattered children of God. So he's thinking, he's going to die so that this stuff doesn't get taken away from us. He's not getting, he's going to die for our salvation. It says he was going to bring them together and make them one. So that day on, they misinterpreted that prophecy. They obviously couldn't let go of what they think is important, what they think is right, what they think is precious. So they plotted to take his life. You got both sides. The left, the right, the middle, the up, the down. All are like, okay, we need to kill this guy to bring peace. Therefore, Jesus no longer moved about publicly among the people of Judea. Instead, he withdrew to a region near the wilderness, to a village called Ephraim, just kind of north of Fish Creek there, when he stayed with his disciples. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, many went up from the country to Jerusalem for their ceremonial cleansing before the Passover. And they kept looking for Jesus. And as they stood in the temple courts, they asked one another, "What do you think? Isn't he coming to the festival at all?" But the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that anyone who found out where Jesus was should report it so that they may arrest him. And then we kind of know how that story goes, right? This is kind of the setup for that. So there's a few things from this, I think, for us to take away. One, and the most important thing is Jesus cares. In the same way that he did what he did, and raised Lazarus from the dead, that he wept for him, that he saw Martha and Mary, ones that he loved. We know that he loves all of us. He said this a few chapters earlier. He talked about how he's the good shepherd. He cares for each of his sheep, knows each of his sheep by name over and over again. He's mentioning this and talking about this. He cares for each and every one of us. We can go to him. We can feel safe in him. We can bring to him our frustrations, our hurts, our pains, and know that he cares, that he listens. The second thing is from this story, is we know that if we want to follow him As he says, I'm the resurrection of life. All you have to do is believe in me by living a life believing in me. And we want that, then we need to put our faith and our trust in Jesus. Which might mean there's some things in our lives, like the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the whatever C's that are out there, that they didn't want to give up. What are things in our lives that we might need to give up? What are things we're holding on to that we think, yeah, I can follow Jesus as long as he leaves this part of me alone? Because I think this. I think this is how I should act. I know I'm supposed to be nice, but that person's a jerk, so I'm treat him like a jerk too. You're not supposed to. Well, I know, but. Right? And that can get difficult. And I know I'm not supposed to lie and cheat, but look at all the money I'm getting. I know I'm supposed to love everyone, but those people are clearly unlovable. Screw them all. Right? We think this. You know you do, you little sinners. And I say it with all humility of like, yes, I struggle with this. This is difficult. We go through this, but this is the thing where we want to follow him. We see these, we get reminders of, oh, Lord, help me not be like these Pharisees and these Sadducees and these guys. God, help me stay humble. Help me listen to you. Help me follow you. Make that my desire to go after you.